This episode is sponsored by Zenro Clothing Co. Pick up your tees and or accessories at zenroclothingco.com and be sure to use offer code Socrates at checkout for 20% off select items. Also, if you're not into spending the money, just check out the Zenrail radio playlist. zenrailclothingco.com, music for your everyday. This episode also sponsored by The Pointy Bakery. If you're located in the Pointy area of Scarborough, Toronto, be sure to check out The Pointy Bakery, say what's up to Arville, and pick up a donut or two. Baked daily, crafted with love. This episode also sponsored by Podbean. Podbean is the podcasting platform of choice. It's the one that me and Vish use, and is great, you know, if you're looking to start that DIY podcast yourself. Definitely check out Podbean. Use the link podbean.com/SocraticGamers and gain 1 month of unlimited podcasting for free. Test it out, build that content. Anyone could podcast, right, Vish?
Yep.
Start a podcast and get your ideas out there. All right, enjoy the episode. Okay, so, well, first of all, it's been a week, I guess 2 weeks since we've done a podcast, so it's good to be back. We were doing a little mic check testing, although it looked good on the settings, like for the last week, we figured out, so if anyone out there has the same issue, turn the gain to 0. Turned out to be a mic issue. So this should be much better in terms of audio quality for you listeners. Okay, so first thing I was thinking about when I was driving back. So last week I wasn't here because I went to Ottawa. And it's weird, like, you know when they talk about like big city vibes? Mm-hmm. So like, okay, so on the way to Ottawa, we stopped by this small town to go to like a farmer's market. And then we went to Kingston, and then we went to Ottawa. And then on the way back, went to Kingston. Mm-hmm. And then, like, you think Canada's, like, all the same, but, or not all the same, but, like, when you live in Toronto for a long time, you kind of take for granted Toronto.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think you might be a little far from the...
Maybe. I'll raise it up.
Yeah, right there.
There you go.
Yeah. When I was driving back from, like, Ottawa, and then we hit like Port Union, and then to get back to where we are, which is like North York, you had to pass like the DVP and stuff. And I was like, wow, this is a gigantic city, because knowing that it also stretches like north and south as well, it's not just like east and west, you know. And then you have like all these different like little pockets of different cultures and like all this stuff. It's kind of weird how sprawling and big Toronto is. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. But when you're in it, like, it doesn't feel big, right? Like for you, you know?
Yeah.
Does it feel big, or you're just like, oh, okay, I have to go to this place, or like?
No, it doesn't feel big.
Like thinking of even like Durham, Hamilton. No, not Hamilton. Sorry, Durham. Was it Markham? Like all these. Like, it's expensive.
Well, they call it GTA,
right? Yeah.
Greater Toronto area.
Right. But because they're all connected, it's not like there's a giant gap. Like to get to Kingston, you drive like through a long stretch of nature, and then you hit the next city. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, you can't technically call that a part of the GTA because it's like not at all connected, right? But like Durham's totally connected, and like not Northern Ontario, like Western Ontario, like Mississauga, you know?
Yeah.
And it's kind of freaky, because then I was asking her, like, is Vancouver like this? And she's like, not as big as this. Like, it's still a big city, but like not even close to this. And it kind of almost freaks me out, because I'm like what is this thing we've created that's so separate from nature?
Like even then, it's probably the biggest city for Canada, but it's not the biggest city in the world.
In the world, yeah, right.
Yeah. Like New York is way bigger, right?
Right. So like when you think about these things, it's like, what have we done to our connection to nature? You know, remember, like, I guess it was last week or 2 weeks ago as well, we were talking about like indigenous perspectives, and like for them, imagine driving through this and they're like, wow, you took over our land.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, at least if you're in Ottawa, it seems like small enough that it doesn't seem so big. It's still big, but it's not crazy big. You know, or like Kingston, it's like a town. It's not gigantic.
Yeah.
But Toronto's like, it's like a kingdom. I don't know how to explain it, but you know what I'm saying? Like, if this was back then, you'd freak out. you'd be like, this is a gigantic city. Like,
Yeah. And I think even the level of growth is
and we're
in a
still
relatively
growing.
short time, and still growing.
Yeah.
Right? And we're having now like to deal with traffic issues, which means that we have more people than we have like enough to
Like house them and like
house them,
transport.
and as well as like to deal with traffic, right? So
Yeah.
that's the other issue.
Yeah, so trippy. And it's like you don't even notice it while you're here. Oh yeah. So you're definitely gonna hear Athena during this. Tara's not here, so she's out in the open crying. So like when you're in it, it's almost like you have to get away every once in a while to come back and appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? Like one of my cousins' girlfriends came from the Philippines. Like she's gonna live here now, and I was thinking about when I went to Kalibo, like the small. Maybe you've been, right?
Yeah.
Remember, and like even for you going to India and stuff, right? You're like, imagine coming back and seeing this and being, or like for the first time seeing and being like, what the heck?
Well, India's a bit different, also, right?
Because
Like,
they have big cities as well.
Yeah, they have big cities,
sure.
although their population is huge, right? Like
Yeah, relative to ours.
relative to here. It's like even though we have a big city, still a small population.
Right.
But theirs is, you can, they have villages and stuff. That area is much more like quieter, right? But in the city, it is big, and it's just so much more people.
Yeah, true. Yeah, true.
That's a
true.
bit
I
different.
guess it does, because like in the Philippines too, like if you go to Manila, it is a gigantic city as well with like tons of people.
Yeah. But that's kind of where people go, is where cities where the jobs are at.
Yeah, that's true. I guess even for them, it must be so trippy. Okay, we're going to pause and give Athena a little bit of love. She's whining a bit too much. Hold on, be back. Okay, and we are back. So yeah, all right. So we were saying like how the jobs and the opportunities are in the big cities too. And like, if the jobs aren't, you're totally right. And although there is this push towards like remote work, which would definitely like make other places in Canada more attractive. When I do go to those small towns, I'm like, what is there to do here?
Yeah, that's
You know? Like there's only so much you can do for so many days, but then like how long before you get bored with the tranquility?
Yeah, there's yeah. Like when I was going to Thunder Bay for school for a little bit, it's more filled with people coming from smaller towns, and like the students, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, because they're bored, they will do other things that will like get them out of the boredom, which is more of into drugs and things like that.
Right. Yeah. True.
Which is what generally happens.
That actually would be a big issue too. Like, because how would you stave off your boredom, or like even sadness? Because like other places in Canada, now that I'm thinking about it, like when we went to Muskoka, right, there was we stayed at this really nice hotel, but that's all you can do in that area. So like everybody wants to work at the hotel.
But also, I've also heard stories where it's like the opposite too, where if you come from a small town and then you come here, it's also like a shock. You don't understand how the city works.
Oh yeah, true. You're like, why are these people so rude?
Yeah, and then like nobody's actually like you're more. You feel more lonely because you're not really connecting to anybody, even though there's more people here.
True, that's a fair point as well. Maybe there is no way to like perfectly like live your life, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Or the grass is always greener.
Yeah, there's like that. Yeah, but that's always going to be on both sides, right? Like if you just only, I think it's the balance is both, right? Where you can at least get out of the city, experience outside, right? And not like being 100% only in the city kind of thing, or like the other way too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. You have to make time to like explore, like see the other side. But I agree with you though when you said like the opportunities are more plentiful here in the city, because like if you lived in the rural area, how could you even afford a vacation? Because where are you gonna work? Like the local drug mart? Like I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then especially like so there's a place called Kempville near Ontario. And when I first went, it was like dead. It was like a sleepy town, so tiny. And then driving back there's so much development. And like there's like a Walmart now and like a Starbucks and like all this stuff, right? And I was like, the people from this town are all going to gravitate towards the Walmart, the Starbucks. Like they're going to feel like that's like meaningful employment, you know? But if we are here in the city, you're kind of like, why are you working at that place? You know, like you can get a job at, like you know what I mean? Like the perspective is different.
Yeah.
Like you would like, oh, why don't you get like a business job or an office job or something like that, right? Rather than like working in, you know, those retail stores. But if you're in those remote areas, the retail store is
those are the
that's like the pinnacle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. Isn't that kind of weird too to think about? It's like, I don't know, like small towns kind of creep me out, to be honest, because like I feel trapped in them.
Yeah, I like, I don't know, I like the access to just walk, you know, a few meters and I'm at a grocery store or like grab something or
right.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what the draw is personally towards like small town, but a lot of people love it. They love that like cottage vibe. They love that like remoteness. Like when we were driving to that small town that I forgot what it's called, but on the way there's these gigantic mansions in fields, like huge. And I'm like, yeah, but what are you gonna do there for so long?
Yeah.
You know, like you have this mansion in the middle of nowhere, but like, what are you gonna do? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I can see myself doing that.
Yeah, a small town, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because like one of those, like when before we decided to fully live here in Toronto, we were like looking at Ottawa and like even small towns, but every time I would go to those, I'd have like a nervous breakdown. Just the thought of like having to spend the rest of my life in like a tiny town freaks me out.
But Ottawa it's still, you know.
But it's not the same. It's not the same. It's like, it's big, but the diversity is not as...
I think it's like it's a stepping stones of different types of cities, right? Where it's like, you know, it's like this is level 5 city.
Yeah, as you were saying, yeah. Yes. Because like, even like, okay, so I'm a big fan of tattoos, right? So I saw this girl in Pet Value, like across the street, and I was like, hey, where'd you get that tattoo? And then she's like, yeah, this Toronto artist. So I like searched him up on Instagram, and he won all these awards he's like #1 micro tattoo artist, right? So I'm trying to like book with him. But if I lived in a small town or even in Ottawa, you're not getting that. You'd have to travel to Toronto.
Yeah, it's a mission. Yeah, if you really want to get it, then you'd have to. You're not. Yeah, it's a mission.
Right, and there's more like options in a bigger town. That's just how I feel. You know, like there's more things to do.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know, like,
I think
you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
like, it's
yeah.
really weird to visit like not knocking you if you live in a small town or you like small towns, but like...
No. Yeah, these are individual preferences kind of thing too, right? I think there's some people it works for them, some people it doesn't, right?
Yeah. And I'm wondering what are you thinking about in those small towns? Like, do you lean heavily on Jesus? Right? Like,
no, well,
what do you do?
technically, that's probably true, actually.
Like community and
I think so. I think community is very, very, especially because everybody will know each other.
Yeah.
That community is a very big thing, right?
But then wouldn't it be better if it was like homogeneous? Like, especially looking at these small towns, like they're predominantly white. So like even the idea of like living in that town, I was like, I would be the only Asian person there, and it'd be weird. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You kind of get singled out, but if you, well, I mean, it's kind of weird too if you think about it, like Caucasians are moving towards these small towns, are kind of like leaving the city because immigrants are coming in. And
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that's true. I mean, more white population wouldn't be outside. They'd still be in the city.
No, they'd still be in the city, totally. But I don't really see...
Well, because they were here much... Like, any person that's coming here is looking for opportunity, right? And opportunity is not in small towns.
Oh, okay, so it's just naturally not a draw.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay, so when they spread out there, it was like just natural.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But it's funny though.
Either they were already there, kind of thing, like for a long time.
Yeah, like as you're saying, like the generations.
Yeah,
of,
but anybody new coming in, even if it's a European new one, they're going to be new in the city.
Fair point. Yeah, so you're saying like any immigrant would naturally gravitate towards the city. That makes sense. It's funny too because like when we were going,
That's why they were trying to, I think, give incentives to like go to Alberta or go to yeah, because they want more population to grow there, so they're giving them like more of an incentive to go to those schools versus the schools in Toronto.
Oh, that's fascinating. That actually makes sense. Yeah. You want to like diversify the population, or else we're just going to be bombarded with like immigrants in Toronto.
Yeah, and that's just overpopulating again, and we don't have enough homes again, and then more traffic.
True. I wonder what it'll look like in like so many years. What like will Toronto look like LA or something? You know, like gigantic and like.
Yeah. Maybe more New York than LA, I would say, right?
Okay, yeah, true, fair. Yeah. So I was saying, like, it's weird how when we were going to those small towns, just seeing hordes of like immigrants visiting those like places is like touristy, you know? And it's just like, oh, this is what you are to us now. You're like this tourist attraction kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Right? We're like, oh, what is this small town like? But they're not like thinking, well, I want to stay here.
No.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah. I remember listening to that one girl in the shop, like she just moved there, and this one like lady, she was like, oh yeah, it's so peaceful here. Like you're from Toronto, and then you can kind of hear that she kind of missed Toronto because there really is nothing to do there. And I feel like if you grow up there and it's like generational, it makes sense, you know? Because you're like,
even going to Niagara was like that too. Even
really?
though, it's like we go there to, you know, like chill and hang out kind of thing, right?
But you're not going.
But for them,
there,
for the people that are local there, they'd come to Toronto to do that.
True, yeah. Oh, that's true, right? Yeah. Wow, I guess like on both ends of the spectrum, it's like we're always tourists.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, it's weird. It's interesting you said the drug thing because I do, like, even when we were playing that game, GTA 5, remember, like, the meth dens were in the outskirt areas,
Yeah.
right?
True, yeah.
Because that's where it'd be, like, used. Actually, I think I heard that somewhere, like, a lot of meth users.
They would make them there, and then cities where the distribution is.
Yeah, true. But, like, but you're right, like, what else would you do in those small towns except, like, do a bunch of drugs and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. That must make you feel like an even smaller fish. It's like you're like a small fish in a big pond. Mm-hmm. You know, like when you go to the city and you're from like a small town.
Yeah.
But then taking that into account for like the universe. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like relative perspective. We're always the small fish.
Yeah.
Because there's always something bigger. Yeah, it's leading up to the main topic. But before we go into the main topic, I just want to cover a couple more things. So I was listening to this podcast. You know the thing with the Taiwan issue with like China?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, why does China want to take back Taiwan, right? And what I found out was that 90% of the raw materials for electronics are in Taiwan. Yeah. I did not know. It makes total sense.
Yeah, they do with semiconductors and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, all comes from there. Yeah.
Oh, man, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
90%.
That's what they have, like, a lot of, what do you call those? Computer expos or something? Like,
okay. They're all in Taiwan?
They have a lot of them. So, like, I used to watch that streamer. He used to live in Taiwan. So he would always go to those things, and it's just filled with people coming and, like doing whatever new computer projects and things like that.
Yeah.
Showing off.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And then what they're saying, like, if the world is focusing more towards like green vehicles, like that's like the main spot.
Yeah.
So it's funny because we always think, you know, we always get presented with the superficial idea of like, oh, they want to take over, they want to take back, you know, China wants to take back Taiwan or whatever because it was a part of its, you know, dynasty. Mm-hmm. But it's like, if you actually look at the economics of it, I swear everything is economic.
It's always going to be economics. Why would they go after something that they don't have any
And Taiwan's small too, so it's like,
Yeah.
you're not going to get any military power. Why do you want to go there? And then when I heard that 90% of the tech gets built
I
there.
don't know if I read somewhere recently something about U.S. agreeing to give them more weapons. I forgot what else. Something like
China going to give Taiwan more weapons. Wow.
that. Yeah, there's some stuff going on. So.
Yeah. All right. So that's the other freaky part. Like my cousin who pays attention to like Asian news, he's saying that like, cause we're all focused on like Russia versus Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
But over there, they're focusing on China and Taiwan because that's their, like it's for Philippines, right? And he was saying that, that could actually spark a World War III kind of thing because if China and Russia are together and then it's like you have these like independent wars going on and then we all have to be dragged into the fight,
There was recently I watched another video where it was because China's been making deals over the years, right, with other countries.
Okay.
And so they're trying to they're also like trying to build a rail system to Tehran and up into Europe or something.
Okay.
And that they're building bases around the Indian Ocean.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And then because of that, it's not like India's being silent. India's also making deals with other countries in the Indian Ocean and making their bases. And there's like a thing, like I forgot what the group is called, where it's like India, it's Australia, Japan, and I think some other country in the US, I think. And like they have an alliance for protecting these things.
Yeah.
And the reason, the locations of these bases or ports that China is doing is near these called choke points, where all the crude oil and stuff comes from the Middle East.
Okay.
And it has to it goes through the Indian Ocean and into China. Like that's how they get their
so you
oil.
control the...
So they're trying to control that point, and then India's
makes total sense.
And then India's controlling another point, a choke point, where if anything happens, it's like they can go after any kind of shipment that's coming in and won't get to China, and that will affect China. So there's like all these things that are happening, and India's like making deals with them and Mongolia. So it's like they have a $1 billion credit line for Mongolia there to build some stuff. So it's like, and then using their air base or like making bases and stuff like that.
Wow.
And like even India and China, where they have made a deal where they can use each other's bases if they need it.
Wow. Okay.
So there's some stuff going on.
Yeah, all right, so on that same podcast, it was a Joe Rogan podcast with Mike Baker. That's funny that you say that because what he was saying is if you look into World War I and how it started, it was all these micro things that led up to World War I.
Right.
It wasn't like World War II. It was like, oh, Hitler is the main enemy, right? It was kind of like there was all these like is the powder keg, right? Remember they were saying that's like, and then it was the killing of Franz Ferdinand that set everything off. Oh, this like domino effect. And it almost seems like that's what's happening right now. We're all jockeying for position. And if one thing goes wrong, it's like, okay, calling in my favors. And then it becomes like another world war.
Yeah, right? It seems like that. That's what it seems like.
You're right. And it's kind of freaky.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's not just that it's not like before where it's like, okay, muskets or whatever, like.
No.
And then in World War II, they created the nuclear bomb.
Right.
Right. It's more like we have weapons that could instantaneously destroy an entire city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it's like this is the longest time we've had peace.
Right.
In quotes, like since World War II.
That's really freaky to think about. Because if one country drops a nuke, it's like, okay, let's just go for it, And like, I heard that there's even these things called like hypersonic missiles. So they're going faster than the speed of sound or something like that. Or I'm sure there's like missiles that go faster than the speed of sound, but like by the time they're detected, it's too late. Like it's faster than the radar.
Right.
So
there was this this U.S. killed some high-end. I don't know if it was ISIS or somebody,
Oh,
or
wow.
Al Qaeda person. I don't remember.
Okay.
And it's a very targeted missile coming from, I guess, the drone, where it doesn't do like massive damage, because massive damage are going to hurt other people as well.
Yeah.
So this was like it. I forgot how it works. It just went after that person and only affected
What?
him. Yeah.
Wow.
It like went directly into that house where he was at.
Oh,
And
that's
just
crazy.
to him. Yeah.
That's super crazy.
Yeah. And it's not like a massive explosion. It's just like
Like hyper
just hits
targeted
it.
now.
Yeah. Yeah. I forgot what that missile was called. But yeah.
And okay, so there's another thing that they called it the Havana effect. Have you heard of that?
No.
So
I'm not sure. Maybe
in Havana, people just start getting sick. And what they think it is like sound waves that they're using to weaponize. So like they're shooting you with some sort of sound wave, and then but you can't hear it.
Right.
But it's like affecting your like inner ear or whatever, and then you start like throwing up and like whatever. And I'm like, if you have that, what the heck are we gonna do, bro? Like EMPs, even think about an EMP, right? you set one of those off, kill the power grid for us, we're done. Or like SpaceX, like turn off the satellites, game over.
Yeah.
Like what?
Mm-hmm.
It could be a very dark destruction for our civilization if they decide to go World War III. Like, I don't see this ending well.
No, yeah.
Not saying that we will hit World War III, but there's a lot of people, a lot of smart people.
There's a lot of pieces moving
that are a little odd.
Yeah, that everyone is trying. Yeah, everyone is thinking of their own countries in a way, right?
Right.
Versus working together.
And I think the thing we have to remember is like if you look at World War I,
I think it's a bit of both. Like yes, you can always focus on that, but there's also things that are happening that are in certain areas they would work together, right?
No, totally.
But at the same time, you can't trust your enemy, right?
Right, for sure.
Like, yeah.
But I think
or trust to a limit.
I think if you look at like the breakdown of World War I, World War II, everybody thinks because World War II is more recent, you're like, oh, we have a common enemy, right? But in World War I, there was no common enemy. It was like just battling for supremacy. So it could be one of those instances.
I feel like it's one of those, yeah.
It's not like we don't have a clearly defined, like everyone's like, oh, Russia's the enemy. It's like, are they really though? Or China's the enemy? Not really. Like we utilize them. So it's more like a World War I situation where it's like,
right.
I'm mad at this guy's mad at this guy, but I have to help this guy because I promised that I'd help this guy.
It's a bit weird. Even India's in a weird situation, right? Because it's like, it's China who they have the main issue with, but they got like cheap oil from Russia, so they have some ally with Russia too.
Oh,
so
it's like you gave me something, so
yeah. It's like, but China and Russia are together, so it's like maybe India's ally with Russia could help mitigate actions from China, like for China and Russia's close ties, right?
Right.
So maybe Russia comes in as a third party kind of thing in that sort of situation. Like I don't know what. That's why it's like it's such a.
It's not black and white.
Yeah, it's not black and white. That's the thing. Yeah, it's not.
That's pretty freaky. And then so on top of that, then I was also looking at the Great Reset. I was saying to you guys. So like speaking of like economics and like world struggle, on top of the whole thread of like World War III, we have the World Economic Forum, which is like, so basically to set the stage, it was this elite club where you have to pay $60,000 a year to join in. And back in 2020, I believe it was, they created this new mandate called the Great Reset. Okay. So if you are hearing this and you're like, oh, that sounds like a conspiracy, that's what I thought too. So when people were talking about the Great Reset, like I remember Wall was like, oh, the Great Reset. He brought it up like way back when, but I was like, you know what you're talking about, bro. Like this is conspiratorial thinking. So it came up again recently, like multiple times, this whole idea of like, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. So in the future, we're all going to be renters, essentially. Like that's what the Great Reset theory is, the people from the World Economic Forum. And so I started researching like, what is this slogan? And it's actually built into their promotional material. So this is actually not even theoretical. This isn't a conspiracy. You can actually go on the World Economic Forum YouTube page. Like the video that I posted was their own highlight of it, talking about how we need to rechange the structure of our entire global civilization. And they were saying like, what side of history will you be on? Blah, blah, blah. Like, we need to stop a pandemic. We need to stop climate crisis. And the only way to do that is to like change everything.
Yeah.
Right. And then you're like, well, who are these people? It was the head of MasterCard is Prince William, a person from the UN, a person from the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, and then more and more people like in this one video championing this idea. And I was like, okay, I'm not a big believer in conspiracies, but this is a little freaky that people are talking about like these 1%ers that are controlling everything we do. And then you see something like this and I'm like, it's like hard to deny that. It's hard to build a case for the positive.
Okay.
Like it seems kind of freaking me. So like I want to bring this up because like maybe you can see the alternative.
But it's
like,
I remember like all the talks or discussions at the time when the Great Reset idea was that, or the
but I thought it was like
spreading at the time.
Like
spreading at the time, but it's been like 2 years since that happened, so I don't remember what those discussions were about. I would have to like revisit those things. Right.
But like even the idea of saying that we need to reset our entire global structure of like they were saying financials, like understanding like our financial structure needs to be reset. Our like energy systems need to be reset, and they're like pushing for green energy, and that's why in like 2035 you can't have a coal car anymore or something.
Gas power car.
Yeah, gas power car. Yeah. So it's like that's a little freaky that you are making a global decision for the whole, and it's not like you say we're just being like, no, that's not. We just won't follow that because the people that were in the video are very highly influential individuals making laws and economic structures. Like the person from MasterCard, like I have so many MasterCards. What am I not going to listen to MasterCard?
No, yeah, but they're not making laws, right?
No, but they influence laws.
Yeah, they can influence, but they're not making laws. It all depends on who you're voting for, right?
Right. No, totally agree with you.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, like Justin Trudeau, was a part of that. He's at the World Economic Forum agreeing with what they're saying. So you have all these world leaders that are in there as well agreeing with what they're saying. So it's like, okay, is this collusion? Like, what's going on?
Again, I'd have to look into it, but I don't think it's like collusion in that sense. It's probably just trying to find ways out of the... At that time, the pandemic, right?
Right. No, it wasn't just about the pandemic. I thought it was about the pandemic. But it's about our climate crisis. That's what they're leveraging off of.
Yeah.
The pandemic was a piece of it, but they're like, we need to reset to like stave off the climate crisis.
But is it like things of these things, or were these things already being talked about prior to the pandemic?
Yeah, but they made the decision. It's like, no, we're going to move on this.
Right. And then, no, I'm just saying, like, was it all, like, were they having these kinds of talks about the Great Reset before the pandemic?
No, not. It wasn't until the pandemic that they put a name on it. It's sort of like, we kind of need to do this, like, how are we going to solve climate change, And then they just created this whole initiative called the Great Reset, which also sounds really freaky because it's like resetting our way of life to do what? Or like, my biggest question is when they say you'll own nothing, you'll be happy. So this is actually, I couldn't find the exact commercial because it seemed to air, but they didn't put it online. So I was watching other people's videos of them screen grabbing the commercial. So it's like an actual commercial, and it has like a drone that drops off a package at somebody's house and whatever. And like if it's like the idea you'll own nothing, you'll be happy, who owns it then? They would.
Yeah. Sure.
Right. No, but like logically speaking, if we won't own it, we're going to be renting it. Who are you renting it from?
Right.
Those, like the MasterCard owner, the Prince William owner, like what? You know?
Well, it's not them owner, right? Those are entities, right?
No, entities. Yeah, no, totally. But it's like, are we moving into like it just has so many questions of like, are we moving into a slave society? Like, what is this?
I don't think so.
No, like it won't be called a slave society, but it'll be like, it's sort of like,
But it's like this though, right?
indebting.
Like it's like we don't buy movies anymore. We just get them from Netflix.
Yeah, no, right. No, I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. It's like, you're not going to call it a slave society, but you're, all right, a perfect example. The Game, his album came out. And then remember you said that one song was blocked out? And I was like, oh, that was my favorite song on the album. It's called You're an Op. And then I noticed on my Spotify it was gone. And I was like, wait, what? And then I went to Apple, it was gone. And then I went to YouTube because I'm like, what happened in this song?
Okay, yeah.
And I found the song because he posted it on his channel, like it's still up there. And the comments were like, this is why I wish we still had physical CDs. So it's like, if I had a physical CD, you can't take that back. That's mine.
Yeah.
You can't change it. But because it's digital, I don't actually own these things. I'm renting the streaming service. You can do whatever you want with it. So that's what's freaky to me. Because it's like, you can change things willy-nilly because I don't actually own the song. I'm streaming the song.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're not calling you a slave, like a digital slave or whatever. But by default, you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have the agency to be like, no, I like this song, I'm going to keep the song.
You're not owning. Yeah.
I'm not owning it.
I remember that. That was like, even for the streaming thing, you don't own any of it, right?
Right? So it's like,
Yeah.
if that's one example, and then it goes to like housing or like whatever, you know, all right, I was having this conversation with your brother about like mortgages because you and I were talking about mortgages. And then I was like, I don't understand how this works because like, let's say we're going to do the math right now. You owe $800,000 on a mortgage, but your collective income is $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
Household income. So then your brother's like, yeah, but they calculated so that it's like 30-year mortgage or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, so I'm 33 right now, about to be 34, so I'll have fully paid that off at 64. And he's like, yeah, theoretically. So you're indebted to this thing and for 30 years, right? That's also enslavement. Let's say it's debt. It's debt because debt is enslavement. You owe somebody something.
Yeah, it's...
And then he said, well, you can pay it down faster. I was like, how do you pay it down faster? He's like, let's say you get a bonus from work. You don't go on vacation, you pay the mortgage. And I was like, okay, but then I'm taking away my youth and the experience to like enjoy that later when I'm retired, when I have no energy. And he's like, yeah, that actually makes no sense. And I was like, I don't understand it either. Like
no,
they said,
it's,
you know?
yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I think it's,
like you have to have debt in this world to play the game. Like if you want to own a car, you have to have debt. You have
so I can explain it in this way where it's like, instead of paying rent, because you don't end up owning that money at the end, right?
Okay. Yeah.
You're paying rent to buy a property.
Okay.
It's at the end of it, it's your asset.
But you'll be dead. You're 63.
No. But yeah, when you're paying rent, you're paying the same amount in rent.
But totally. No, I agree with you.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, you're gonna die, and you can't take any of these physical things with you.
Yeah. No.
So I'm like, you're debt enslaving no matter what. Like in the way our society works, you cannot not be, unless you make millions of dollars.
Sure.
Like I'm talking about what I was saying to him is like the middle class is
This middle class, yeah.
enslaved. The middle class is enslaved, right? Because you need debt in order to move in this world of middle class life.
Okay.
Unless you have like millions and millions of dollars, like whatever, who cares about that? Does that make sense? So like to go back to the theory of what I said of like, they won't call you a slave, but you're operating like a slave. Just like the Great Reset, you'll owe nothing, you'll be happy. It's like, yeah, we're not calling you a slave, but you're a slave.
Okay.
No, do you agree, or does that make sense?
But I don't know what that means by
slave.
What does that mean by slave?
Like you owe this money and you're indebted to someone. You're enslaved by something.
Okay.
Like you can't just like be like if you have no debt, you're not a slave because you're like, whatever, I'm just gonna go here, I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna have money to.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like if I travel the world, right? But I have this looming debt over me, I'm still tied to something.
Okay. Okay. Is paying rent and doing mortgage the same thing or not?
No, paying rent because you could just move. You're just like whatever.
You can still sell.
Okay, but when you sell it, how much do you make off of the selling and you still owe the money?
No, you don't owe the money. From when you're selling it to somebody.
You're passing on the mortgage.
Yes.
So then you're getting out of enslavement.
You're just selling it, right?
No, but you're getting out of enslavement, is what I'm saying. Enslaved to debt. You're enslaved to a debt. So if you sell it, sure, but then you don't own it.
But I don't see the difference between renting and then mortgage.
Because
you end up owning it versus just spending money on rent.
All right, let's say you have a house and I'm like, hey, I'm just going to live with you.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to pay anything. So I'm not enslaved to anything.
Wait, say that again?
So if, like, let's say I live with a friend.
Okay.
And they're like, yeah, you can just live with me forever. Yeah, you don't have to pay anything.
Sure.
So you're not enslaved.
Okay.
Because I'm not actually physically attached. Like, on paper, I don't owe anything.
Yeah, okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Own anything.
You don't own anything.
Okay.
Because it's not, I'm just like living, but you're free because I have no debt.
I just don't see the difference between paying rent and then paying a mortgage.
No, but what if you don't pay rent? Because you're saying paying rent because you're assuming I'm going to pay rent to live at somebody's in an establishment.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, what if I just live with somebody and I'm not paying rent?
Okay.
I'm just living with someone.
Sure.
Then or freeloading, right?
Yeah.
Right. So if you're doing that, then you're actually free because you have no debt. On paper, you're tied to nothing.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay.
So you're saying like rent as if like you have to rent, but I'm like, no, you can freeload. Obviously, you wouldn't freeload. Like I said,
okay.
in life, in order to play the game, you have to enslave yourself somehow. So whether it's renting or a mortgage, they're both enslavement because you need to.
That's what I was asking, if they were both the same thing.
They are, yeah.
But that's what I was asking first.
Oh, okay. They are. Unless I'm freeloading, then I'm not enslaved.
Okay, that's
But you're
fine.
like freeloading, like nobody likes that.
Which is, yeah.
But you're not free. But you're free. You're not.
Sure.
You're not.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I get that. I would.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like, what I'm really saying is that all middle class people are enslaved through debt.
Okay.
Because if you have millions of dollars, you're not middle class. You could just pay off your debt.
Yeah.
If I want, buy that house like pocket money. Like if I was a billionaire, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So to go back to with the whole like the Great Reset thing, it freaks me out because it's like, even though you won't call me a slave, I'm operating like a slave. Does that make sense?
Even if you don't call me a slave?
Yeah. If you like.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right,
I see what you're trying to say.
Right.
Okay.
Like if I punch you in the face, but I'm like, oh, I'm not actually hitting you in the face, but you still freaking hit me in the face, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like by default, you're treating me like this, even though you're not calling me this.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Right? Yeah. So that's why the Great Reset freaks me out because I'm like, you're creating a generation of slaves. We won't own anything. We'll just rent everything from you.
Right.
And we can't live in this world unless we rent from you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Freaky, right?
Sure. Yeah.
It's like, is this all we are? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I get what you're saying. But it's like, are we happier with Spotify and Apple Music the way it is?
No, totally. Don't bite the hand that feeds. I'm a big fan. I'm a big believer in that. You have to respect the Tao. You know, like I'm acknowledging I'm a slave, but I enjoy my slave life. But what I'm saying is, if you look at it higher level, you just don't want to be called a slave. But I'm cool with being called a slave. I'm just saying it's kind of freaky that like they're doing this without telling you what you are.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I'm freaked out about the whole Great Reset thing. Because it's like you're just doing this without my consent, but I'm also benefiting from you, so I can't bite the hand that feeds because we're also making a live. Like, yeah, you could totally live in the forest.
Yeah, that's why you have to see how it all comes out, because not always, because there's always different ideas that clash, right? So it's like you're saying the IMF is in there, but like
Yeah,
certain
what
countries
the
are not
hell?
involved in the IMF.
No, totally. This is like a more Western world thing.
Yeah,
This is
it's a
not
Western
third
world thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's why it's like. Then you have Russia and China doing their own thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's the clash of the two.
Exactly. And then now you freak out because you're like, which side do I want to be on? Or like, or even like when they're like, oh, you don't want to operate here? Go to the third world. You're like, shoot, but then I won't have the first world amenities. You know what I mean? Like, oh, what do I do?
Yeah.
Right? Kind of freaky.
Sure. Yeah.
But it is just a first world thing. Like, those are all first world people. Like,
I mean, like, yes, these are the things that we
like to
deal
operate in
with.
this world. That's why I was saying middle class. To operate in the middle class, you're enslaved.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, also at the same time, it's almost like only the middle class is enslaved, because if you're poor, like a homeless person is not enslaved. That guy should do it. Like, you just beg for money.
Yeah.
You could beg for money, live on the street. Sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
Or even the idea of like paying taxes too on like the land. Obviously, I get the whole. I'm a big believer in taxes because they pay for our roads and whatever.
Yeah. I mean, a simple thing is like that. Yeah.
But like at the same time, it's like if you really think about it, it's like when you're born with a SIN number, and that SIN number is how we're gonna know how much you owe me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is anyone really free in this world? Aside from like, I guess the poor people.
Yeah, you'd have to be out of society to be free.
Yeah.
Technically, right? Yeah.
Right, and that's why they create those like communes. But I mean, they're also on the land of other people.
They still have to pay.
Yeah, they still have to pay. So it's like you're technically still enslaved. Maybe that's the truth. Like, we're all just slaves, and we just don't. We're like
to the system, right? Is that what they say?
Yeah, slave to the system. Yeah. It's not like we're not like nobody's whipping my back.
Yeah.
But I know that if I don't have this job,
yeah,
I'm
that's
not
why it's
gonna
like
pay
I don't
for
want to
rent.
categorize it as the same as that type of slavery, because that was a different level.
Yeah, no. It's not that kind.
Yeah. I know. But it's like you don't want. That's what I'm saying. It's like
connotation
it shouldn't be like that was some bad stuff.
Yeah, no. We're not physically being abused.
Yeah.
No. You're right. It's a slave to the system.
Yeah.
Like, you have to.
Sure. Yeah.
you're
If you want to
tethered to
operate within the
system.
system, you have to follow the rules of the system.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like. Yeah, which is trippy because it's like you literally can't play in the system unless you take on some form of debt. You can't buy.
Yeah.
You can't buy a car. So, I mean, you did, but like you can't. How many cars can you buy before you need to take on more debt?
Yeah. No one has the opportunity like to buy off a car, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then like, but I need a car to go places. Okay, I'll buy the car. Enslavement. Oh, I need a house. Okay, rent or mortgage. Enslavement. Yeah, I don't know. It's so trippy when you think about it like that.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of things to like go into like house.
Yeah, man.
And stuff.
Damn.
It's interesting things. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you learn about like all the like the land transfer tax. There's like an extra land transfer tax in Toronto area.
Yeah.
Versus like Markham or Richmond Hill or something like that.
Yeah. There's so.
But those are things like if there's like extra land transfer tax, it's kind of like incentivizing you not to go in the city and go look outside.
For sure. Totally. Actually, this brings up a good point, because people who flip homes and like, all right, so people who have the money to flip homes, they understand the system. They understand you have to pay fees.
Yeah.
But from a middle class trying to become upper class person, they're like, how many times have we heard it? Like, just buy a house, flip it, you make a bunch of money. It's like, that's actually not true, because you have to pay off the land transfer tax, like you're saying. You got to pay off the realtor. You got to pay off the moving. Like, there's so many
you got to look
things.
at like how exactly how much and what kind of stuff goes around that area. Like, who would buy in that kind of area, right? So it's like
you could buy something, but then
so like we were like, for
you.
instance, like just looking at Oshawa, and it's like the realtor was like, it's cheaper there, but the thing is like if you want to sell and move into the city, it's going to be harder because
nobody wants to move to Oshawa.
Yeah, like there's not going to be too many buyers, and then also even when you sell, it'll still be less than, not less, like it'll be like you won't have enough to even buy things
Exactly.
within the city.
Exactly.
So it's better to start from the city, and then you can buy anywhere outside.
Exactly. So like the whole notion of like, let me flip homes to get rich is like, that's really not how that works. You know, it's like, it's not.
Well, you gotta like, it's not as easy. That's the thing. It can be done, but you have to work hard at it.
And you also have to know how it, like, what are the rules? Like you're saying, land transfer tax. Who knows about that?
Yeah.
You know? Or like,
there's so many things involved. It's not just land transfer tax, but outside of that, it's like there's the lawyer fees to check, to make sure that like for the condo they are certified and what kind of management they have, and like what's it called, house appraisal. It's like, or in-house inspection.
Yes.
So like you're doing all these things to know what's already how it is.
Exactly.
To, owning something.
People make it sound so simple when they don't know what's actually involved in it. You know what I mean? I guess it's like any job. So somebody's like, they look at my design work, they're like, oh, that's so easy, you just like did this. But it's like, no, there's so many aspects, like layering and like whatever. I guess, you know, for everything, there's a whole like, I don't know, system behind it.
Right. Yeah.
But it's funny because it's like, we take that stuff so for granted, you know, like it's that adage of if it comes easily, it's probably like not real, you know, because
Yeah, right.
You hear that all is just flip the home. Flip the home. Like, what? No, it's not that easy. Or also, you have the know-how. Do you have the know-how to flip a home?
Right.
Like to like actually like change all the lights.
Like if you're going to renovate and stuff, do you have good people that will renovate the thing? Or are you doing it yourself? Do you have that kind of knowledge?
Exactly. So it's like, well, you got to pay for the person who's renovating for you. You got to pay for the materials.
Yeah. And who knows what happens with the market? Oh, it's dropping right now because...
Yeah, exactly. So what are we doing? Like, yeah. This reminds me of the freaking Bitcoin thing. It's like, what are you talking about? This makes no sense fundamentally. Yeah. Okay. So, before we get into a couple more, before we get into aliens, but, so the girlfriend who didn't exist, I was saying it's crazy that, so if you watch it on Netflix, it's basically a catfishing documentary. But what really tripped me out is this person was dealing with their identity. It was like a man who identified as a woman. So the man at the time used like Facebook to express his feminine side, and then that's how he catfished the football player, right? But this is more like a mental health issue because it's like that would have never happened if he wasn't struggling. You know, it's like pointing to a bigger crisis because everyone's like, oh, catfishing's bad, but it's like, why did you catfish in the first place? You know, I feel like we don't pay enough attention to our psychology, you know, and psychology has a lot to do with like why we operate in this world. Just wanted to bring that up. Next thing I wanted to quickly bring up was I read Nietzsche's book on I think it's called The Geniality of Morals. And one thing he said, or, you know, like beyond good and evil, it was all about like, there's no such thing as good and evil because it's all perspective. So what he was saying about morals is morals are based on promises we make with one another. I will not kill you. And if I do kill you, then it's immoral. Right. So it's like, we're the only animal that promises is what he was saying. And I was like, I didn't even think of it like that. And that's where our whole like morality based system is from.
Yeah. I mean, it's all us agreeing to
a pact.
Agreeing,
right? Yeah. And then it's like
that's how that's how laws work, right?
Right. Yeah. And then what he said too was really interesting is like our conscience. You know, people are like, oh, you have like an innate conscience. What he's saying is that is based off of the pact or the promise you make with yourself. So if you say like, if you think that killing is wrong in your head and then you kill someone, you broke your own promise to yourself. You know. And then that's why it's like...
Yeah, if you don't believe that.
If you don't believe it's evil, it's like your conscience is not affected.
Yeah.
But you know deep down that you shouldn't be doing this, but you do it anyways. And that's when you have a crisis of conscience. Yeah, interesting, right? Everything's like psychological. Okay, and then...
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's still like going to war, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're killing somebody, but it all depends on...
why you're killing them.
Yeah, it really does.
Right, you know, for real, though.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, I'm protecting my country. Okay, I'm protecting my kids. Okay.
Yeah.
I find that really, it's like these things seem so cut and dry when you're a kid. It's like, oh, that's wrong, that's bad, and then start seeing the hypocrisy. You know, like you shouldn't kill another person. It's like, but what about soldiers? You know,
Right.
Oh, you shouldn't steal from people. Oh, what about like business? You know, yeah. Okay, last thing before we hit aliens is I was hearing this. I don't know. Well, I heard it multiple times. I was thinking about it as well. But people who talk about, wasting, like school being a waste of time,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, like, what was the point of going to school?
Yeah.
I actually don't agree with that. It's more like you wasted your own time. Do you agree, or
What do you mean by that?
so if it's like, if I studied marketing, right, which I did, and now my job is in marketing, right? If I didn't study marketing and I studied, like, I don't know, health, and then I went into marketing, it'd be a waste of time.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But it wouldn't be school that's a waste of time. I wasted my own time, because like, why didn't you just study the thing that would have helped you in the first? Because like, I hear that so often that people are like, oh, I don't even do my degree is
Right.
right, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
it's
it's not the school's issue, it's like your chosen decision, because school is just a pathway to the next step. Yeah, you agree?
Yeah.
I mean, like, you're doing something that you studied too, right? Yeah, so was school a waste of time for you?
No.
Yeah, I know, right? So it's like, I feel like that's just like a cop out when I hear that.
Yeah. Like, you're learning, like, I guess it's a bit more broader in what you're learning, and it's more specific in this job, right?
But are you talking about me, marketing, or?
Just in general, I guess what you learn,
Okay, yeah.
because you learn it and they're teaching you everything, but at work you're generally doing specific things, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, fair.
Do they mean it like that, or?
No. I think maybe. I could see that point too. It's like, I don't use 90% of what I studied. Could be. But I hear it more like.
But
like,
the whole point of school is that you learn all the different things, then you can then you can focus on your specific.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it gives you a good baseline for everything. It's like, now that I've been out of school for so long, I don't know if you feel this way too, but it's like, school really just sets your mindset for that specific career path.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like when I was explaining something marketing wise to people at work, and they were like, oh, I didn't even think about it that way. And I'm like, what? I thought this was common sense. But then I realized, like, oh no, school trained me to think in this direction. Yeah. As just like how they were trained in their directions, So like, it's like a more of like a mindset shifter.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's
sense?
teaching you more about that, yeah.
But like, if I didn't do all those broad courses, I wouldn't get the mindset shift, Yeah.
Right.
I just find that interesting. Okay, so now the big topic, Wakanda is with us. I've been hearing like a lot of alien related stuff recently, and what they're saying is that the NDAs got removed from Congress, although you could still be blackballed within your industry, but it just means that you won't suffer any penalties by breaking an NDA related to aliens. So what they're finding now is, well, all right, let's first talk about aliens. It's completely, it's completely, like, it's there's no way you can deny, that aliens exist. So during the Congress meeting, or UFOs, not aliens, because we don't know if they're from this world or off world, right?
Okay, yeah.
But the Jeremy Corbell guy, he was showing that, there's radar, there's heat signatures, there's visual confirmation, there's like photography of this one incident, right? And there's been like multiple other incidences, but he just brought up this one incident. So it's like when people ask for evidence of UFOs, it's pretty clear now that there are UFOs among us, right?
Right.
And something people were saying was like, oh, if it could also be drones, right, from a different country that we just don't know about. Which are like, maybe that's true, but if the country had the ability to like,
what is it called now? Not UFOs, right? UAVs.
Yeah, unidentified aerial phenomenons.
Yeah.
So like, if another country was that advanced in their technology, why wouldn't they just take over the world if they're that advanced? So like that theory's out. And what they're noticing is that there's a lot of alien, like UAPs.
Well, unless they're like Wakanda.
Exactly. Yes. So that's why I said Wakanda. So no, if it was Russia or China, because they said like, oh, we don't know about Wakanda.
Oh, okay, I got you.
But they could be drones from Russia or China.
Okay.
Right, but it was like, but then Russia and China would just
specific
destroy.
To Russia. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah.
And apparently, like other countries like Russia, China, Brazil, Italy, Canada, they're super open about their UAP studies. It's just America is not, and they're like kind of the global stage, so we're all like looking to them. So when you think of like UFOs and like aliens and stuff, you think of Hollywood.
Yeah, I think it's probably more because it's like, even though like Canada, you said the other countries are more open about it, but no one's been really talking about it.
Yeah, they just don't care, I guess.
Right. So it's like, but I guess whenever America says something, it's a big impact, right?
Right, because they're like the global superpower.
Yeah,
it's like, oh wow, they're acknowledging this.
They're acknowledging something. Yeah, it's like.
But it's like, but we've been openly studying this for years.
Yeah, but no one's been listening.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there was apparently this sighting in Italy. They were having like a football match, like soccer, and the craft was overhead of the stadium and just stayed there. So they actually stopped the football match because they're like, we don't know what this is. And then there's like 10,000 people in the stadium all witnessing the same phenomenon. So it's like, how can you possibly say that this is not real? There's definitely something out there that we are not sure of what it is.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
That's why I kept saying Wakanda, because we're assuming it's Wakanda. And so another thing that they kept noticing was that these UAPs are near water and they go underwater. So either they're from a different planet in the solar system, and either A, they're drones, like robots, because like bio life cannot survive that long in deep space, like light years, or B, they figured out a way to like bend gravity in order to transport light years without affecting their physical bodies.
Right.
But there are so many things wrong with that, because like if we saw Interstellar, so then by the time they get to us, is their home world like light years older? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, even though you didn't age, but maybe the world around you aged. Like, I don't know. I see so many flaws with that. Do you agree? Or
sure. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like,
I mean, I don't know.
Deep space aliens. I don't know the physics behind it. Like, we don't know, but like within the knowledge structure we have, it makes no sense that they're from deep space.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Right? Because like, unless they're robots, because then that could actually survive infinity. So the other theory is that they've been with us for a really long time, or maybe they were from a different galaxy, but they crash landed and they can't get out of this Earth.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So they've built bases underwater, and so like almost like hiding in plain sight. Okay, right. I could see that too, because when Bob Lazar was on the Joe Rogan Experience, he said that one of the UAP crafts was from an excavation site. So it wasn't actually like when they found the craft, it was from like digging. So that would tell me that it was here for a really long time, that it actually got covered up. Right? So we don't know if they crash landed a long time ago, or maybe they were an advanced civilization that was here before us, and then climate change happened and they had to like figure out how to avoid all this, and then what I'm saying? Like because if you read in like Graham Hancock's books, there was some advanced seafaring civilization before, but we just don't know how advanced they were.
Right.
And if civilization reset itself, if you had this world that we have now and then like a meteor hit or climate change or whatever, or we just left it untouched, it would be destroyed within like, a few hundred years.
Right.
Everything would break down, right? The nature would reclaim everything. Right, it makes sense?
Yeah.
So they could just be living among us as Wakandans, and we just don't even know that they're there.
Yeah. If they're like us, maybe they're like going through the same thing where it's like arguing about when to reveal or not to reveal.
Maybe, right?
Yeah. Why not?
Like that, right? And so another thing that they notice is that sightings increased in World War II. So this is actually documented from military bases that during the World War II nuclear testing or something, a UAP flew into the facility, shut down the nuclear machines, and then like flew away. So they're like, okay, maybe the idea is that they live among us, but they need the same resources as us. So they can't have us destroying our own world.
Right. You were saying, was this a testing place or was this like a...
No, it's a nuclear silo. Like,
okay. Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And then they noticed that since the Russia-Ukraine thing,
there's been
an uptick.
Right.
So they're like, is this thing trying to stop us from not trying to save us, but maybe they need the same resource. And if we destroy the entire planet again, they have to wait countless years again to like let's say there's like nuclear like blasts everywhere, like nuclear radiation. They have to wait for that to like go away before they can start taking things again.
Right. Maybe they can help us with any asteroid that comes in.
Maybe, right? Because maybe like it also, they need it as much as we need it.
Yeah,
so they're
exactly.
like, oh no, an asteroid's coming. We need to protect these people. That, right?
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
if you look into like religious texts and stuff, they always talk about like a deity figure. Like even, dude, if this turns out to be true, the conspiracy theorists will be laughing at us. Like, what if we are genetically engineered by them to help them with something?
Right.
You know? Like, we don't even know that we're doing it. Or maybe they just helped us along in our development. Just for like the hell of it. You know?
Right.
Like as a they were like scientists. They're like, oh, let's see if we can like help you guys along. You know? Or another thing is, like Joe Rogan, this is actually pretty interesting. If all nature follows the exact same path as us, like caveman to stone tools to cities to nuclear power to harnessing energy, maybe they have surpassed those and they're like at a higher state, and they see that we're at this like transitionary period where it's like, how do we learn how to use and harness our energy? So they're just like helping us like through that transition, and they're like, oh, all civilization has to go through this ordeal. Like, let me just help you guys out and not have you blow yourselves up.
Yeah.
All theories that actually kind of make sense, right? Yeah.
Yeah, all theories can make sense, but there can only be one theory, right?
Yeah, totally, for sure. Like, I'm most leaning towards that there is something in this world that's among us. We just don't know that it's among us. It's in my analogy is like this. If you were an ant and then you see us walking by, the ant is focusing on his relationship. It's just like, oh, what is that thing?
Yeah.
But it pays no real attention to us. You know, we could think we're so grandiose, just like the ant could, but the ant doesn't realize it's a part of Earth. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the ant's city or whatever, the colony, is all it's like consumed by.
Yeah.
But we know that the ant is just an ant for us. So we could be like that to the aliens or the Wakandans that live among us.
Right.
Which also is like kind of a mind blow, because then you're like...
Which kind of makes sense, though. I think that's what we...
Right?
Yeah.
That actually makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And it's like kind of a mind blow, because it puts you in perspective. It's like we're so focused on us being the most predominant thing in this world, but maybe we're really not. Right?
Yeah.
Like we think we have dominion over everything, but like ants have like slave ants, right? Ants have like so many things that they do. They gather resources. They have kids. Like ants
they have
really
a monarch.
operate
They have
like
a monarch
humans.
system. Yeah.
right? Right? They have like houses and like they have the queen that everyone like impregnates or whatever, and then she like makes more ants, and then like they're just building, just like we're just building.
Yeah.
But like in the grander scheme of things, they're just ants.
Mm-hmm.
So to them, these like Wakandans, they could just be like, they're just humans.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's actually so trippy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But we're not getting in ants' business when there's a nuclear war, though.
No, but we do though. If there's like think about the COVID.
No, I'm
thing.
saying like we don't get involved in ants' business.
No. We don't. All right. So okay. Let's So let's ignore the ant thing. You know how we're like, oh, COVID can go to animals, supposedly. So they started vaccinating.
Yeah.
They started vaccinating animals against COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So we are getting a part of their business. We are entering into their business because we feel like we need to save them from themselves.
Sure, those are the animals that were in our zoo. Yeah.
We could be in their zoo, right? They could be like, oh, we need to save them from themselves.
Right. Okay.
Because we do it too, right?
Yeah.
We went into the zoo. We started injecting all of them with like Moderna or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's not out of the realm of possibility that they could be doing the exact same thing to us.
Mm. Yeah.
Or maybe even like, oh, this is actually super trippy. Do you remember Men in Black 2? At the end, they were playing marbles. And
yes.
in the that scene tripped me out because I was like, that could actually be us. They were just playing marbles, and then marbles were just us, our solar system.
Yeah.
What if that's the exact same thing? What if these UAPs that we're seeing are just their version of small drones that go to fix things?
Mm.
Right?
Could be. Yeah.
Or okay, what's another one? You know the idea of like nanobots?
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah,
I was about to say that.
In the human body.
Yeah.
We could just be in someone else's human body, and these UAPs are nanobots.
Yeah.
And we think we're like, oh no, we're being visited by aliens. But then you zoom out, and it's like we're just one cell in a human.
Right. Yeah. In a huge giant or something.
Yeah, a huge giant. Yeah. Trippy.
Mm.
These could actually be super, like, real. These could actually be real.
You're right. Yeah.
Right? They're not actually out of the realm of possibility.
No, I mean, nothing is out of the realm of possibility, right?
Because the reason why I say that as well is because, like, if you zoom into, like, I look at you and I'm like, oh, human, right? Mm-hmm. But if I had a microscope, you're not a human, you're a collection of cells.
Yeah.
So why could we not be a cell in one giant thing?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty trippy.
Yeah.
And it goes like, because like in spiritual texts, they say like, you can infinitely zoom out and infinitely zoom in.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Because like, to the UAP, does it even know what an ant is? Because it's too small for them. Mm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Right.
And we might see, like the ant might see things that we don't even see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Trippy. Yeah. Okay, last thing about that. I read it's funny how science and like, this is the point. You have to read everything. Even though I heard what that paper was about, like, oh yeah, like the ultra-terrestrial phenomenon, they could be in the oceans, right? So like Jeremy Corbell like tweeted that, and then I read the paper, and I was like, that's just one part of it though. Like if you actually read the whole thing, it's just like a series of hypotheses.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, okay, you drew. It wasn't all about like, I thought it was gonna be all about like
only that one thing.
Yeah, like they're in the water, and these are evidence for it, and like this is how we know.
But we always tend to go towards what is a good story. I feel like.
Right.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Or like the highlight.
Yeah, or like a thing that popped out to you individually.
To you. Yeah.
So, but that's we're storytellers though, right?
Like when I was with the geniality of morals, like when I was just talking about the Nietzsche thing, it's a whole book, but it's like I took away that from it, but somebody could have taken away so many other things, you know?
Right. What appeals to them, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny that you said we're all storytellers. The movie I saw yesterday, 3,000 Years of Longing,
Yeah.
that's what they kept referring to. Like, it turned out it was like the genie was just explaining how he was captive so many times through love. Like, he just kept running into like bad troubles through like
Okay. Yeah.
through like love, and then the whole point of the story was like it's just stories we tell ourselves and stuff like that. Yeah, human beings are just like, yeah, we're just storytellers.
Yeah, we gravitate towards narratives, right? So
To explain the world around us, right?
yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's like
We need that one answer. Sometimes it's not like it. We want that black and white. We don't want the gray.
yeah, true.
And but the world is gray though. That's
Dude, actually, well, no, hold on, wait. It's not just gray; it's layers. Because going back to the Great Reset thing, and I was like, oh, we're just slaves. It's like, to me, it seems like that, but the layer is, they're affording this opportunity. They're taking care of us. They're, you know what I mean? It's like, depends on which way you want to look at it.
Yeah.
Because there's like multiple layers to everything.
Sure.
Yeah, trippy. Yeah. Okay. Anything else before we set off?
No. Yeah. The world is layers.
What do you what do you think is the what would your most likely hypothesis be for the UAPs?
I don't know.
But like most likely, just like what seems the most logical to you? Not your guess, just like out of everything I was saying, it's like, that doesn't seem logical. This one kind of
Well, I don't know enough about it's just more, it would be more like guessing, right? I don't know enough about the situation to know what it exactly is, right?
Facts. We do know that there are UAPs.
Sure.
There are so many things that
yeah. All right. Yeah. Actually, I can agree with that, yeah.
But you know what's trippy? How come nobody's talking about this? Like, why does nobody care?
Yeah, it's the same thing like the ants. Like, why do we care about... We have to focus on our situation.
Oh, yeah, like most people, it's like, this is more important than UAPs.
Yeah, like, I'm trying to find ways to feed myself or, like, feed my family. Why do I have to think about aliens? They're not affecting my life right now.
Right now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so trippy.
Yeah.
It's like running on autopilot.
I don't want to say it's...
No, that's a reactionary state, though, because you're just reacting to... I need to do this. I need to... Oh, no, this is new. Okay, I got to react to that. Okay.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Maybe it's like the people with the
But we've been always doing that since the beginning, right? Like tribal
reactive,
which is
totally,
yeah, which is what we do. That's the human thing, right? We're not looking at. We don't have to worry about. So like the natives doing their own thing, which was fine. Only they had to worry about it once the outsiders came in, and it became an effect.
Right.
So right now,
there's no foresight.
Yeah.
Because they weren't like, oh, maybe there's other people like us. Maybe those other people want to
No, but that's not what we're... No, because we're thinking about our own tribe.
Interesting.
And that's just how we always are and how we will continue to be. Only if they come into our world, then it's an actual effect.
It almost like highlights the different layers of being human as well. It's like we have like dreamers, we have like doers. I'm like... I don't know what else it is. Maybe it's just dreamers and doers. Like people are just
but those are
repeatedly.
Yeah, and those would be I feel like those are like if you're gonna go percentage wise, most people are not like that, right?
Dreamers.
Yeah.
That's true because we'd all be philosophers then.
Yeah. And nothing would get done in the world.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah, true. Actually, you know what's funny? Okay. All right, even though I keep saying like, oh yeah, dreamer, like reactive state. So when I do something in a business perspective, I'm like, do first, think later. That's my approach. It's like let's say you have they're like, hey, you need this project done. I'm not going to ask a bunch of people what do you want in the project. I'm just going to look at the brief. I'm going to create it, and I'm like, we'll change it as we go. Right? That's more reactionary. Like there's no foresight, because to me, I'm like, if I had spent all that time gathering all the research, it would take me way longer than it would to just do it. So maybe that's because I was just thinking like, oh, maybe it's better to be like a dreamer, but it's like, no, but we wouldn't get anything done. Yeah. Because I wouldn't have made all those designs if I had spent all my time like dreaming.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You have to just
You just kind
make
of
it,
keep going,
and
you know?
then make the changes as it goes on. Yeah.
Remember yesterday too, even I was like, well, what are we gonna do? Remember that conversation? And I'm like, okay, I don't know is not a decision.
Yeah.
We need to like decide on how we're moving forward. Because that's more like the dreaming. It's like, let me gather more and more information.
Yeah. But we only have this information to deal with. So.
Yeah, so let's just make our decision right now based off of the information we have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I see your point. The world is more weighted towards doers because we wouldn't be where we are if we're all just dreaming.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Can't wait till World War III starts and then the aliens come in and they're like, guys, what are you guys doing? You just chill out.
Yeah.
Dude,
Especially
what?
No, especially now, like we can photograph everything.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. But that was the other thing. Remember that guy in Sweden who was just making fake UFO videos and dropping them? So it's like, oh, come on. Like, we can photograph everything, but also we have like graphic artists and stuff, or like VFX artists.
But yeah, those guys are troublemakers. Those guys want to just
troll and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, which is also what we're gonna deal with too.
Yeah, like, you just don't know what's real anymore.
Yeah, that's the thing with the internet. So
it's really weird to think about. Like, we have so much going on in the I mean, I'm sure they thought about that too with like, what was that, Vietnam War? They probably felt the same way, like when they were living through it. But I'm just like looking ahead and I'm like, we have the Great Reset to worry about, climate change, economic collapse, World War III, aliens. Like, it's going to be a very interesting time going forward. Going to Mars.
You're going to the moon.
Right. Like, so much is...
Or, in the next few years. And then changing every car to electric. There's a lot of change. There's a lot of changes happening. Yeah, a lot of changes happening.
Yeah, but maybe that's what they were saying with the Great Reset. It's like it's going to happen whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Like, maybe, when they talked about the Armageddon, we brought this up before, like the Mayans believing that the end of the world will happen in 2012. Maybe it's the end of the old world.
Yeah, I don't think it's like end of the world. It's just end of...
Like how we were doing. It's the Great Reset.
End of these current ways.
Yeah, maybe.
To a new change, yeah.
Maybe the Great Reset is the signaling of the Armageddon. Not we're going to die, but like the end of our old way of doing things.
Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, that's the clash that's been going on, right? Can we really change out of climate change? The only way to change climate change is
to do a reset. No, but dude, actually, remember when we were talking about climate change? We were saying that the only way to stop climate change is to overhaul the way we're doing. Wow. So maybe it is a good thing to do the Great Reset. It's kind of freaky to hear, but like maybe But
it's also, I think they're also seeing it too, because it's all about business too, right? If the world is gonna die, like if we can't make more money, what's the point? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if climate change is like the thing that's happening, we have to adjust. We have to change in order to continue making money.
Right. Still, for them, it's business.
Yeah.
All about making money.
Yeah, of course, it's always going to be.
Actually, that reminded me of something. The Elon Musk thing, where he's like, "We need to make more babies." Mm-hmm. My sister asked me about that too, and I was like, I don't know if we talked about it in the podcast, but I was saying, yeah, it's the end of like Caucasians, like him being like, we don't have enough babies. Like, yeah, because like BIPOC people are outweighing. Like, we have 1 billion freaking Indians.
Well, he wasn't saying it like that though.
No, civilization collapse. He was saying.
Yeah.
But I was like, how? How would it collapse?
It's saying that it's like the statistics, right? The birth to death ratio.
Yeah, but how? How would it collapse though? Like like you have almost 8 billion people.
No. But he's not talking about the world. He's talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
He's talking about the country.
That's what I was trying to tell my sister.
Yeah, because he's not talking about the world.
Exactly.
That's the reason why we have more immigration happening.
Exactly.
Because not enough people are having kids.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we have to immigrate more people.
Yeah, it's not it, but the rhetoric is like the civilization collapse. That's all my sister heard. Like,
no, that's
no, but right, like it's like.
But he's talking about the Western civilization.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
Like China's going nowhere. India's not going anywhere. Like they're not worried
They have
about
a
like a
massive amount of
civilization
people.
collapse. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
What
exactly.
civilization collapse?
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
But Japan has an issue though. They have a very low.
But they're tiny. If you actually look at the island of Japan.
No, it's they're not tiny. It's more population is older than the younger population, right?
No, right. But what I'm talking about,
But they are looking at
civilization.
what are they trying to do? They want because people are not now. Also with the pandemic, nobody was going out and partying and stuff like that and meeting people. So they had to actually make beer cheaper to get people to come out. We're trying to find a way. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
No, but that's more like localized.
Yeah.
When I'm saying like civilization collapse, I was thinking like the world's collapse. Like, we're not going to collapse, bro. What are you talking about?
No. It's
7 billion people. Come
he's
on.
talking about the Western nations.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. But they don't frame it that way because people will not appreciate that.
Yeah.
Right? It's like we need more babies. Why? Like it just fundamentally made no sense when I heard that. I was like, what? I don't get it.
Yeah. No, I always understood that as because I always kept reading about Western situations.
Yeah. Western.
Like Canada, low death or birth to death ratio, like that kind of thing. Or Japan. It's like those are the nations that he's talking about.
Yeah, but it's like, but in a
or those are
world
of civilizations he's talking about.
But in a world of 7+ billion people, it's like.
Yeah, or he should be saying,
out,
we should be immigrating more people.
But he won't say that though.
Yeah, because he's
because I'm sure like being in SpaceX.
Well, he's an immigrant too, so.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah. Because Joe Rogan was saying this interesting.
Well,
thing.
SpaceX, you have to be American, like because you're dealing with.
Right. No. I meant like I was gonna say not being a part of space. I meant like being a part of SpaceX. You have a lot of clearance. You have a lot of connections. You can't just be going willy-nilly. So like that picture of him smoking right there? Yeah. So one thing Joe said that after that one incident, he lost like a lot of connections to that. So when he went back on Joe Rogan and then Joe Rogan's asked him about aliens and he was like, oh yeah, they're not real, whatever. And he's like, oh, he's playing ball now. Like he's like saying that.
No, what you say has an effect, especially when you're.
And I think he realized it from that moment. So like, because Joe was like, how come he's not being as candid as he was before? And it's like, yeah, because you have a lot of partnerships made with NASA.
Yeah, and if his vision of the world is what he wants to create, I think he can't change. Like he can't be.
Yeah. Like you have to play ball.
You can't be candid. You just can't be.
Yeah, crazy.
Like it's like I don't know anything about Tim Cook.
Yeah, we bring that up. Yeah.
I don't know anything about Tim Cook.
Perfect. That's how it should be.
Yeah,
just do the business, bro.
Exactly. And he's changing. Like they're changing the world still. So it's just like.
Yeah. I'm very.
But he's like young, right? So in that sense, Elon Musk. Comparative to like people who've had. Like Tim Cook worked under Steve Jobs, so it's like.
So yeah. He learned like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where we're going now. Like going forward, like there's a lot of stuff up in the air. Yeah. Okay.
You should bring that up to Neil deGrasse. What would you say?
He did. Yeah, that's.
And he's also.
I forgot. That was the other thing. He's like, Neil deGrasse is also playing ball. He brought it up and he's like, no, there's no evidence. I don't believe it. Show me the evidence. But then Jeremy Corbell's like, we have footage, we have visual evidence, we have thermal evidence, we have radar evidence. Like, how much more evidence?
Well, what was it? You're saying there was other theories or other hypotheses?
Oh, like light clouds, optical illusions, just like basic stuff that's not.
I saw an optical illusion, or
you saw an alien, bro?
Not an alien. It was like, so I was like just driving on the street, and I was like, well, why is there a telescope? Like hanging in at the sidewalk area.
Yeah.
And it fully looked like a telescope because it had like the silver.
Yeah. Okay.
Pointing up towards the thing and like the two legs, right?
Yeah.
And then as I slowly drove by, it was just like the house for sale sign.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then the silver thing was coming from like the opposite car's like it just lined up correctly,
I get what you're
that it
saying.
looked like
Yeah.
it was a telescope. I was like, oh wait, that's not even a telescope.
No, so for sure. So like that's why when Jeremy Corbell went to Congress, he's like, this one incident had like 5 pieces
Right.
of, because like you can't
Evidence.
rely on
Yeah, just eyewitness.
yeah.
Or
But when people like Neil deGrasse Tyson and Elon Musk discount this, they're just using like one reference.
I'm sure
point.
they have things that they can't talk about.
Yeah,
right?
that's what Joe was saying. Yeah. But Michio Kaku,
Like, I mean, they're in the, well, at least Elon
Public
Musk
eye.
is in the SpaceX world, I'm sure.
too many partnerships, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to, in order to get, like, to do the testing that they're doing, they have to get permit, like the rights and permission
Exactly.
from the government.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you don't want to jeopardize those kinds of things, you
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
should not be. I don't think you. It makes sense. I don't think you should be talking about this unless.
No, yeah, it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, like Michio Kaku, the scientist, that guy, he's huge in aliens. Not from the conspiracy. He doesn't even know any of the alien
Right.
stuff. He's like strictly science. He's like, oh yeah, totally they're real. And he like was talking about on the podcast. He's like explaining why they're real. And then Joe's like, oh, do you know the work of this guy? He's like, no, who's that guy? And he's like, oh, he's like the forefront alien versus like, I don't care about that. He's like, I don't care about things that aren't science, you know?
So that's true. I think as a scientist, you should be coming to these conclusions like by yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And
Versus-
that's what Michio Kaku's saying.
Because if you're reading about others and talking like that could affect your perception.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And that's why Joe is confused about why Elon Musk and Neil deGrasse don't believe that they're aliens or UFOs.
Right.
Yeah, well, one thing Neil deGrasse said too, I saw in the podcast, he's like, it could be like a speck of dust on the camera itself that's like creating the illusion of something being. It's like, come on, man. I feel like the evidence is so overwhelming now.
Yeah, I think they just want them to land. That's the evidence.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the kind of thing.
No, but one thing they were saying too is even if they landed on the White House lawn, there's still going to be people that's an actor, that's a psyop. You know what I mean? They'll just be like, this is not real.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's still going to be there, but I feel like it'll change a lot of people's minds, though.
It would change a lot of people's minds.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll reveal themselves soon?
Soon?
Because I mean, we're capturing them. Oh, this is the other thing I want to say. Oh, yeah. Okay. Good thing we didn't end it. So remember I was saying like the nuclear stuff? So one thing Joe said was like, if they're attracted to nuclear stuff, why don't you just set a trap? You just blow up a bunch of nuclear stuff in the desert and then like see if they come. So apparently they're doing that. The actual U.S. military is like, they're not blowing things up, but they're transporting nukes and then covering the area to see if like an alien will come. So it's like, this is our rudimentary way of like trying to, you know what I mean? It's like the ants are trying to somehow capture the attention of us walking by.
Yeah. True.
Which is kind of funny because imagine if like the ant was holding like a piece of gold. We'd be like, what's that? And it would actually attract our attention.
Maybe this whole war thing is all what that is about.
They're just trying to catch the alien attention. Like, all right, let's just make this extravagant war thing. Yeah.
It's like, I mean, this could be detrimental to the world economic fund or world economic thing if there's an alien. So it's like we have to capture this thing to get it, to not affect the world.
Yeah, it's trippy. Okay, I think that's all. All right, till next time.
Peace.
Take it easy, Vish.
Bye.
All right, hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all those fun things, and check out our sponsors, Zenro Clothing Co., Portian Bakery, and Podbean. Take it easy, Vish.
Peace.